Hello, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and today I'd like to share with you a fun fold card that I've created to swap at the Onstage event. It's a demonstrator event that's going to be held this year in Houston later this month. And so with all that, let's get started. I'm going to pull out, kind of show you my sample card before I get going. On the front, it's a little more plain, but as I open it, it becomes kind of cool because it's a diorama. It is a, oh my goodness, and here I've got it written down. I can't even tell you what it is. It is a pop-up diorama card. I've got some notes sitting here. So let me set this up to the side and show you the supplies that you're going to want. There are a lot of them, so you can check out my supply list in the details of this video and on my blog later. I also have all of them on, these are my stamps under the Just a Little Ink. So you're going to need a couple pieces of Misty Moonlight cardstock. One is cut at 11 inches by 4 1/4. It is then scored at 1 1/4 inches and again at 5 1/2. You're going to want another piece, and this one I've already cut an opening out of, and I'm going to show you how I did that. But you're going to cut this piece at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then it is scored on one end at 1/2 inch and on the other end at 3/4 of an inch, or you could do 1/2 inch and 4 3/4. Either way will get you this measurement. You're going to want a square, about 3 1/4 inches square of Night of Navy. That will give us the square that's on the front of the card as well as the frame that's going to go around on the inside. And I'm going to cut those using the stylish shape dies. You're going to want 2 pieces of Bashful Blue. One is 4 by 4 and the other is 1 inch by 4. And you're going to want to have a 4 by 4 piece of basic white, which we will stamp on. You'll also want some scrap pieces of white so that you can stamp on. I've already done it. The little scene from Let's Go Shopping. And you're going to want some Designer Series paper. And I did 2 different prints. One of them is for the front, and it's in 2 pieces. One is 4 by 4, and the other is 3/4 by 4. Now hold on just a moment, and I will tell you. No, this is not 4 by 4. 3 7/8 by 3 7/8 to go on that 4 by 4 Bashful Blue. Then 7/8 by 3 7/8, and then you want one that's 1/2 inch by 4 because it will go on this piece. You also want, and for this particular card, I chose the scene. It's there. You can get 2 of them. Actually, you can get 6 of them out of a sheet of paper. This one is 4 by 4. Gives me the storefront scene. And then you're going to want scrap pieces of. And I've already cut them. I can kind of show you as we go. You're going to want scrap pieces of Daffodil Delight to get a sun, moon, whatever you want to refer to that as. You're going to want scrap pieces of Pebbled Path for the light post. Also, if I didn't drop it, have a flame for the light post. We may have to see what happened with that. I've already cut this one and colored it. You're going to want a piece of pecan pie for the bench, which I already cut out and backed, and then scrap pieces of Petal Pink, as well as a scrap piece of Misty Moonlight for an awning to go on the front of our storefront. You're going to want a scrap piece of what looks like a Pebbled Path to go on the front of our little square. That's also from our Les Shop paper. And a scrap to be able to stamp and then cut out our flower pot. I did have it sitting here. Here's my little light post light. And then I cut from the smallest piece, and I'll show you all these pieces. I've already stamped and cut all of them. A small rectangle, so you need another scrap of some basic white to get that. And then the smallest piece, just a sliver of basic white just as a backer, and you'll understand the reasons behind all that. So it's all of our parts and our pieces. If you need to order any of these things, you can find them in the description of this video. And you can just click right on them because the links will take you to my online store, justalittleinc.stampinup.net. If you're ordering less than $150, I would love it if you would use my host code. I have a current host code that is good through the beginning of April. And I have those every month. You can always find them on my blog, justalittleinc.com. But that also helps. And so if you order $150 or more, you will get host benefits. And so you do not need to order. So, or use a host code. So I'm going to show you first how I did the frame. And I can do that. You can use either your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine or the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I'm going to pull out my Stylish Shapes dies. It's stuck on here. So I'm using the 2 largest squares. So I'm going to pull them here and I'm going to put them together, and I've got pieces of just washi tape that are kind of going to hold them together. So let me pull those off. We will reattach them. So, well, maybe not all of them though. Okay, I'm going to set them together like so, and I'm going to actually turn them over because it's helpful in my how I'm going to show you. So you line them up. This is how you can get some frames. You can do the same thing with the circles because they are layered in all of these different shapes. And so you're going to line them up, give an even gap. It's easier to do when I'm not on a camera, but you're going to get an even gap around them. And then you're going to take masking tape, washi tape. I really like something new I picked up, and I just don't have it out right here. I picked up some Post-it tape, which is repositionable and lets you get some stuff done. So you just need to kind of hold them together, and then you can line them up onto your plates with your paper underneath. Make sure I'm not scooting it around. And then I'm going to pull out the mini machine here just to show you how simple this goes. So now line up and run it through. And then I'm going to show you how I did do it through the machine, but I can show you how I lined up my opening. I used a ruler. It's a little more involved if you want it to be exact. Let's see, then I pull this off. This is scrap, don't need it. It gave me a square, which I opted to reuse then, but this was the piece I originally had wanted, so that it would frame off my pieces here. I wanted it on my opening for the inside. And so this piece then lays right on top and covers that up and gives a nice offset. So how I cut this piece, I measured to make sure I had even spaces on all ends. More space on the top and bottom than on the bottoms, or on the sides, excuse me. Then I took my smaller square, laid it on the center, made sure I had it secured so that it wouldn't shift around, and ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and it cut out the center of the Misty Moonlight. So I'm going to set this out of the way, kind of take care of all these other parts and pieces. So I'm going to fold my base pieces here. So I'm going to got this 1/2-inch piece, and they're going to get folded in toward the center, toward the inside. So I have this piece folded. I'm going to go ahead and use my liquid glue, my multi-purpose liquid glue. I find it's the easiest, and I actually assembled the entire card using liquid glue. You can, when you're attaching these pieces, as we get going, you can use tear and tape, and I have listed that as an option in the supplies. But tear and tape is not forgiving. The reason we use it is because it's a great option. It holds firmly, and with this getting a little bit more use, it's a good thing. And make sure everything is centered on there. Okay, and then I can set this piece aside for the moment. I'm going to tell you about, so the stamp set, Let's Go Shopping, and it doesn't come with, it has available for it a die set, Let's Go Shopping dies that cut out the images here as well as many other pieces, some of which we will use. So I'm going to grab all of that. I use some the Misty Moonlight ink to stamp the greetings, both the hello and then the wish you were here for on the inside. And then I use, let me just pull it out, I have it on just a cardboard piece. I use this tiniest of rectangles to cut the hello out. And so this will go on the inside. I'm going to kind of step through some of the other pieces. So this was a 1/4 inch by about 3 1/4 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on the back of it just to hold it down at the bottom. Needed something that would ground my scene that I'm sticking on the front, and I wanted it to fit in between all the stitched pieces. So that's why it's the shape or the size that it is. And I'm going to attach, I think of this as the sun. Setting sun, you could think of it as a rising moon. It really kind of is up to you and your interpretation of it. I'm going to put it up in that upper right corner. I attached a piece of our adhesive sheets onto the pecan pie before I ran it through the machine with the park bench. And that way it's detailed enough. That is the best way to have adhesive on the backs of things that are small, like all these little images. So I was going to create. So I've got my park bench sitting there. On the back of hello, I'm going to use some mini dimensionals just because they're sized correctly. Go ahead and take that backing pieces off, which sometimes are the more challenged parts here. All right, and this I'm going to set over, like so. And then I added a couple of the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. The instructions for my swap require that I have an embellishment, at least one, and I kind of thought that these iridescent jewels gave just enough of a sparkle for the moon. So here is my piece to go on the front. And then I told you I'm going to do just a little bit to show you how I did. I stamped my scene, and this is more than one piece. So this is a 2-step. So I'll kind of just show it to you. It comes with, so you're going to stamp the building first, and you can make this building taller. There are pieces to keep going higher. And then I added the little cafe scene into the center, and then I also added the cafe sign, which is another stamp. So I already stamped those things, and then I'm not cutting out anything other than the basic shape, but then I colored it, and I colored it using my blends, and I'm just going to show you briefly kind of how. Is this my dark? Yes. So I took the dark petal pink, kind of went along the elements I thought were needing a little more interest. So my trim and the upper detail of the building. I used my light petal pink then for the base of the building. so that it was all the same color and yet just a little different. Then I used the dark Misty Moonlight only for this little mail drop. At least that's what I thought of when I saw this piece. I pulled it here, and then I used the light Misty Moonlight for the rest of my door. And again, I'm not going to color all of it, but just to show you the differences here. And I found that the blends did pretty well. You could choose to color this in any way you wanted. Then I had for the little mail or the sign that's hanging on the door, I used some of our gray granite, and I used gray granite for the steps because it kind of to me was more of a concrete color. And then I colored the table gray granite. You could use pebbled path. There's, there's all kinds of things you can choose. I colored around the chair with the same color I did for the table. And then I came in with the light Calypso Coral to do the seat cushions, and I'm only going to do this one for now. And then I took Bashful Blue to do my menu that was on the table. I just needed some color to let it set off, and you could do whatever color you wanted there. So that's how I did my little scene. You see all the difference here. So I'll set the one I was working on aside. You could use watercolor pencils. There's all kinds of options. So then I did with Granny Apple Green for the foliage in my pot. I'm going to take and put dimensionals on the back, again minis because of the size, on the back of my pot. I set those aside, and then I used those adhesive sheets on the back of all these pieces before I cut them. Just they're so tiny, it really does help kind of, and I'm using my take your pick tool to kind of pick up the back of this. When you're doing a lot of die cutting with detailed pieces, those adhesive sheets do make all the difference. So, and I ended up doing the same thing on the back of the base of the awning. And I layer them together. That's mostly, pull it up here. Okay, and then I can go ahead and pull it off the back here. And it didn't quite go all the way on, but it's enough to hold it down. So you can then see here that it'll go on top. It just gives a little more interest onto my scene when I have the awning on there. So got that here. I'm going to attach this on the front, and it'll look as though it's in front of the buildings that are on this designer series paper. So I'm going to again use my liquid glue, just enough to kind of hold it down, and decide, I think I want it kind of maybe here. Yeah, like so. I found each of these were a little bit different just because of how they are positioned with all the different buildings. Then I'm going to take the backs off of my dimensionals and attach my flower pot, and I can go here, which I think I'm going to do, and then I'll put my light post on the other side. Some of them I put on one end and some on the other, like so. So then I'm going to show you about my light post. So I'm going to take and turn, and sometimes I found that using the putty end of my take your pick tool was the best way to turn this little light. I cut one just enough to get the lamp light in there, and then I'm going to put it back in, and this is the part I want to show you my little trick, because I'm going to have this free-formed sitting Well, maybe I am. It's one of those things that sometimes easier said than done. There you go. So you can sit in there, okay? And then if I can find it and it didn't fly away on me, I had sitting here a little itty bitty strip. Now there's ways to do this if I can't find it. I'm not sure I've got it sitting here now. So tiny a piece. But I may have lost it on the floor. It is literally a sliver of cardstock. So I showed it to you. Well, we'll just pull it from here because it won't matter. So what I did, I just need the ever so slight sliver, and I don't need very much of it, of cardstock. And I'm going to use my liquid glue to put a little dot on the top and a little dot down below, as if I don't lose it underneath. And we'll place it again in there. So, like so. Okay, grab my take your pick again. That little putty piece, stick my light in the center, and then I'm going to take that little sliver, just enough. Can you see where I'm going with that? I want something that's going to help hold it from falling out. So here we are. You see, I'll now bring it a little closer to the camera. And here is it on the back side. So that way I have a light that can go on the inside. So let's get all the rest of my pieces put together. So this is going to go here. These are going to go here. So let me grab my adhesive quick. So what you'd like to know is how I put this together. I've had this bundle for a while, and I will admit that I have been a little hesitant to use it, and I'm not sure why. Why is it that we wait till the end of a catalog period to use things? Okay, so like this, and then attach. And you'll see what's on the other side of that paper. It's some beautiful buildings, which was hard to want to use it on the front, but it's just how it works. So this, I gave just a ever so slight, it's only 1/8 of an inch reveal on these pieces. So they're not got a lot of bashful blue coming through on the back side. Okay. So to assemble my card, whoops, let's put this on. On the front, like so. I've got just a teeny bit, so I'm going to slide off. Sometimes it's hard to have exacts with your trimmers. So I've already folded these two pieces in, told you about that. I'm going to fold along those other scores. And I talked about it being mountain fold because I'm coming into itself. So I'm going to have two pieces that come in like this. Now, on the largest section, so this 3/4 of an inch, I'm going to put adhesive. And again, I prefer to have some wiggle space, and so I like using the multi-purpose liquid glue. It will dry and be very firm hold, and yet it doesn't attach so fast that it's going to be permanent right away. And that's the difference between using tear and tape and using the liquid glue. So I'm going to line up here. Looks like I'm just a little bit off. I will do a trim on my card front so that I don't have that off, because that is not going to work. Looks like I might have been ever so slightly wider than I needed to be. So, because of that, give me just a moment. And see if I can get that trimmed off. And while I'm going, I think we can do that while we're going. We're going to go ahead and just keep on moving. You're going to then take your inside piece. Should have tested that before I went going. So we're just going to go ahead and keep going. I'm going to line it up on the inside. Because this piece, it's not that you can't do it later, it's just best if you do it now. I set it in the center. We're going to just trudge ahead. So open up here all the way. So this is where I had added that piece. I'm going to fold it flat with this piece flat. And I'm adding glue. You can see, and I will see if I can pull my camera just a little closer, but come a little higher up here so you can see that, how I've added. So this is the section. You can see where I've added it here. I've kept it flat so that's up. And then I'm going to just close my card base. And in doing so, making sure that I am straight as I come down. Press, then, whoops, well, we thought we were. Press. We've allowed it to dry a little too much. Here we go. I'm going to come in, and I found that using my bone folder there kind of helps. I will come in and trim along this edge after we're done. So now you see where I've got where you can have that seam in the front. Can you see it here? There you go. You kind of see my seam in the inside. So then what I did is I took my lamp post and I stuck just a teeny bit of adhesive on the front because I'm going to attach it on the inside. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to attach it over on the opposite side of the other card I did. And you'll see the difference in a sec. I'll show you both. So now I have a lamp post sitting in there. And the last part is just putting all these other pieces in. So, like so. Turn it around. This is for my inside. And I will line up. Get all the pieces here. Okay. And then close it. And I've got a piece at the bottom. That's where that fold is. It's going to come here. So this is that 1 by 4. And then the 4 by 4 goes on the top. Some adhesive on the top. Line it up. Give my even reveal around the edges. Like so, and then to finish it off, it needed something. This cute little square, which was going to get wasted, well, or used somewhere else. From the inside piece, comes up and gets centered on the front. How cute is that? Wouldn't this be the neatest thing to send to somebody, a friend that's far away, that you are thinking of? It's kind of like saying thinking of you without saying I'm thinking of you, because it says, I wish you were here. I've got a few of those. I wish you were here to stamp with me. Like so. And then when you open it up, it's got a sweet surprise inside, because here is my scene, like so. And that's it. So thanks again for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. And please think again about subscribing to my YouTube channel. Until next time, bye-bye.